welcome to Little Learners. Now on this channel I talk about early education and early years educators, but what do early years educators actually do? Today we're going to find out, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Childminders for sponsoring this video. We're actually going to be finding out a lot more about them throughout this video. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. And if you find this video interesting, helpful, or even entertaining, give it a thumbs up as it really helps out the channel. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, before I start talking about what early educators actually do, we should probably specify who they are. So early educators are any practitioners working in early education which covers birth to age 5. So early educators have many names and many different roles. Some of them that will be most familiar to you would be teachers in early education, so usually reception age, nursery practitioners and nursery teachers, childminders, nannies, preschool practitioners and teachers. Now there are many misconceptions about people who work in early education. For example, I took to Instagram and asked you what misconceptions you've come across in the past. These are just some of them. So early educators are just babysitters, right? Oh, this one gets me every time. All early years educators have to follow the early years foundation stage framework, which lays out what we need to be doing for children, what they should be learning and how they should be developing at each stage. And a lot of work goes into making sure that all of that criteria is met. So I mentioned our sponsor Childminders at the beginning of this video. That was created by Kieran Flynn. When his daughter started going to a new early years setting, he started to realise that this was a lot more than just babysitting. He was getting information about her welfare and her development. He realised that this setting was playing a huge role in her life and in the way that she learnt and what she was learning and the way she was developing. Kieran realised that he, as a father, really wanted to support his child's learning and development, but he didn't quite know how, which is really interesting because that is kind of the reason I started this channel in the first place, when I was teaching and realised that so many parents wanted to help their child's learning journey, but they just didn't know how, which is why I started making phonics videos originally. Kieran decided there needed to be something that worked for both sides. He realised that practitioners were overworked, which, yep, and he realised that there needed to be a way for parents to be more involved in their child's education. Now, if you watching are an early educator, you work in the early years, if I asked you to think of the one thing that is the most frustrating thing about your job, what would it be? I'm pretty sure that most of you would say paperwork. That's right, paperwork, record keeping. That is one of the most frustrating parts of the role because it just seems to keep building and building and building. Kieran noticed that this was a major frustration for practitioners and that so much time was being wasted record keeping for either no reason or because settings were using several different systems and platforms, one for registration, paper for observations, another system for this, another system for that, another system for logging lunches, so many different ones, and it was just too much. It's just too much. There needed to be a way for practitioners to have more contact time with children and really get back to what our job is all about. And that is how Childminders was born, was created. This system, this app is pretty incredible in the sense that it brings together everything you could possibly need. So I've talked on this channel before about observation systems where you can create observations for lots of different children and assign areas of development to it, and then parents will be able to see it as well. So imagine that observation system, kind of how that works, and then everything else you need also all in one system. So I'm talking registration, logging wet nappies and what children have eaten that day, logging their development, logging their 2-year check, having parental involvement. There is so much in this system that the whole idea is that you only need this one system, which to me is like a breath of fresh air because honestly, There is so much that settings and schools are paying for to have all of these separate systems, because nothing does everything. And the whole point of this is that it does everything. Now, one of the things about child paths that I think is so crucial is that they really did their research. They collaborated with a lot of different partners like National Child Network, CRAN, Cork College of Commerce, Adult and Child Therapy Centre, to make sure that every area of child paths was relevant and would help with practitioners' jobs and also would benefit the children. They also consulted with lots of owners, managers and practitioners across early years settings to really understand what they need, what we need. I've been in contact with child paths for probably almost a year now, and I can honestly say that anyone I speak to there is so passionate and just really, really wants to help early years educators succeed. They want to make sure that parents feel involved, and at the centre of everything is the child. If you are interested in learning more about child paths, I will put a link in the description box below. You can also book a demo so that you can kind of try before you buy, which I think is great because there are so many different systems available out there. It's very difficult to work out which one is right for you or which several are right for you. Again, child paths don't need several, it's all in one. And of course, feel free to drop a comment or message me on Instagram if you want to hear anything else about child paths. We need to challenge those misconceptions. So before we go, let me tell you a few things that early educators do. Oh, early years is really easy because if you work in a nursery or you're a childminder or something, you don't even need any qualifications. Where did this one even come from? If you are a teacher in reception in a school, then you will need a teaching qualification. But just because educators are working in years lower than reception doesn't mean they're not qualified. They may not have a teaching qualification, but that doesn't mean they don't have the relevant qualifications to work with your child. It's just playing. Well, kind of. I mean, it's not just playing, but it is play-based because children this young can't just sit at a desk all day for several different subjects and learn that way. They learn through doing and through play, and that is why the majority of activities that children will do in the early years involve play. But they also involve skill building in areas like personal, social and emotional development. So children learning to understand their emotions and learning to monitor and adjust their behaviour. Children learning how to interact with other children and adults. Children learning how to do things for themselves, like putting on their shoes, going to the toilet, or having a go at an activity independently before asking for help. So many different things happen, and that is why I love the early years so much. Now, lots of parents and carers have these misconceptions about early years. Maybe they're taking their child to nursery for the first time or going to see a childminder, and they have these misconceptions. And I don't blame anyone for having them, because if you don't know, if no one tells you or you've never seen it, then how would you know? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you again to Child Paths for sponsoring. If you want to find out more about the Child Paths platform, then take a look at the link in the description box down below. I think we will be seeing Child Paths popping up on the channel in the future as well, so thank you to them for supporting the channel. Thank you to you for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment. If you got to the end of this video, leave a comment about what first comes to mind when I say early educator. And don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.